So let's talk about the religions and what people believe. So let's talk about the five top religions. Okay, so Christianity being the biggest, 2.1 billion believers. Islam, 1 billion. Hinduism, 900 million. Buddhism, 376 million. And Judaism, 14 million. So Buddhists believe that the body dies and disappears, but the mind goes on. The mind has existed endlessly and continues to go on and on. And we believe that there is a rebirth, which means removing all negative imprints from the past, all delusions, and just having no suffering ever again. Which I think is kind of interesting. So they do believe in this next, what some would call maybe reincarnation or another opportunity to do this again. Christians, there's a diversity of practice with Christians, as many of us have seen, right? If you've been influenced by the Christian tradition. Some Christian traditions say that when someone dies, they're sleeping and that they'll wake up again when Jesus comes again. It's more than death. It's a transition to another kind of life, which one of the things I have found so interesting is what to do with the body when somebody dies. So in the religious, we grew up Roman Catholic. And there was this big thing about not cremating the body. And I thought that was so fascinating. It's kind of an old school, tradition, but the whole idea is that the body will be ready and waiting when Jesus comes again. And I thought, wow, that's really old school. I think some more mainstream Christian traditions don't believe that so much anymore. But what do you guys think about that?
I actually, this is part of the deep dive into the Bible that I did. So 1 Corinthians 15 actually kind of addresses it, the resurrection of the body specifically, which I think it was kind of enlightening for me because, yes, growing up Catholic, there's kind of that thought. I know other religions have it. I think Mormons have the same sort of belief system. So if you don't mind, I'll just read it. So sorry, I'm going to read like scripture, you guys. I really apologize. Someone will ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body will they come? How foolish. What you sow does not come to life unless it dies. When you sow, you do not plant the body that will be, but just a seed. But God gives it a body as he is determined, and to each kind of seed he gives its own body. There are also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. I'm going to skip forward here. So what will be with the resurrection of the dead? The body that is sown is perishable. So when it's buried, it's perishable, and is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body.
Don't you think, though, this is a perfect example of how we can misinterpret things?
Absolutely.
Right. So somebody reads this. Yeah. Well, somebody takes this back in, the 1600s. I'm sure I'm way late. I'm sure it's way sooner than this. And they go, oh, there has to be a body there at the resurrection. Right. Okay. That is really absurd, people. Like, it's just, it's absurd to me. It's absurd that you really think when you unveil a tomb from, the 12th century that there's a body there, right?
Again, I think, it was just a literal
the dust come from.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they interpreted it very literally, like you will literally be resurrected from the dead. And when people talk about the resurrection of Jesus, they talk about the resurrection of Jesus's body, which, according to the Bible, yes, the body was missing from the tomb. And and they saw him physically. Right. I think that's more just an example of a spiritual body that was so highly evolved and powerful, had such powerful energy that they were able to make themselves seen, even though they were dead. So, that's just kind of how I interpret it. And that's how 1 Corinthians 15 interprets it too, is, this it's not the resurrection of the physical body, but the spiritual body.
Ooh, I like that. When I was younger and we would go to church, I never resonated with it at all. Like the resurrection of Jesus, like how did he die and then come back? But you saying that actually makes a lot more sense of that when you have that spiritual, I want to say hierarchy, but like that that knowledge, you can come back and present yourself to people. That makes a lot more sense to me than Jesus coming back from his dead body.
Yeah. Well, and in the, in the story, it says after however many days it was that he, that his resurrected body was went to heaven, right? Like it just disappeared. He was no longer there. Well, I don't think it's because his physical body was ever actually there. It was just his spiritual body that he was making present to everybody because he had the energetic power to do so.
Yeah, and how we've talked about ghosts and stuff in the past, and spirits, they can make
like an apparition.
Yeah, like an apparition.